Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuning to live at Rockforcing TV. We are here today to discuss about the impact of COVID-19 on 2019 to 2020 and 2021 academic education and beyond. So we have here a renowned Ghanaian prominent man living in Arizona here, and we are here to have a discussion with him. He's an academia, and he's lived in the United States for quite a long time. We have Mr. Okrah here, Peter Okrah, Dr. Peter Okrah. He holds a title of Distinguished Member of the Technical Staff at General Dynamics Corporation in Scottsdale, Arizona, where he designed communication systems for space and military applications. He received his PhD in 1992. I said 1992, that is his PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University, California, where he also received MS electrical engineering. He holds dual BS degree, electrical engineering and mathematics for other US institutions. For 20 years, Dr. Okrah spends his weekends with middle and high school students to prepare them for a test for the college entrance and merit scholarship. The program currently has over 140 students from more than 20 different US states, from grades 12 to grades 8 to 12. Okay, now for this, I would like him to talk more about it when we get into the discussion. So I would like to welcome Dr. Peter Okrah into the program. Dr. Okrah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, my name is Rocky, and behind the camera is your man, Eli Forcing. So, Dr. Okrah, I know you for some time, and from what I have read here, I think the people have heard me a lot. They heard everything that I said. Do you mind letting them know, beginning from Ghana? Now, I told them everything about United States. Let's start from Ghana.
Okay.
Where you from? Okay. Where you attended school in Ghana? Okay. And when you got to the United States?
Okay, that's a long story.
Yeah.
I am originally from Wono in Kwabre. Okay. That's why I went to elementary school, primary school, and about 1 grade in middle school. And I went to Pukwari school, so I could teach
secondary in Kumasi.
Where I was part of the class, the Z class, I guess we used to call it Z class, the last class. So I was there from 1975, that's why I started Form 1, and then finished O-level in 1980, and I went there for 6th form, and I left there after lower 6 to come to the United States.
So now you know where he started and where he is now. So for now, he's living in Arizona, and he's been, like I told you, he has been doing so many things for this thing. But today we are going to look at the impact of COVID-19 on the academic education, like the academic calendar of the kids. Like, let's take it that from grade 1 up to
actually, let's go even beyond to kindergarten.
Okay, let's go beyond. Well, now, how do you see? What do you see generally? How do you see? What do you see?
Okay, it's very interesting because exactly about a year ago that COVID really came into being. Okay. So in the middle of March 2020, what happened? All the schools literally shut down. That's when they stopped the student from going to school. They said that, okay, you go home for a couple of weeks, and that's for grade, anybody who was in school, including even colleges and universities. Yes. So let's start with the grade students. They shut down, they went home, and the school's trying to figure out what to do. And one of the things they decided, okay, we're going to go online. The problem was that the school system was not prepared to go online.
Okay.
So they were trying to figure things out as they went along. The teachers were not prepared. Some of the teachers were not even very comfortable with computers.
Yeah,
and now all of a sudden they're supposed to teach online. Okay. You have parents who have to go to work. So how do they stay home to survive their kids? Do they have enough computer? Do they have high-speed internet to connect? So you have all these problems that came about in March of 2020.
Okay. So with this said, which of the people did it affect much? Was it parents, students, or
affected part? Everybody.
Okay.
So let's start with the school system. The school system was not prepared.
Okay.
So all of a sudden they have to build an infrastructure to be able to continue to educate the kids. So they made some shortcuts. One of the things that the schools decided that, okay, we're going to have some kind of school, but really just keep the kids busy. Because the thinking then was that, okay, sometime by the summer, COVID probably will go down, and then we'll make up for the next academic year.
That's true.
So they went the online stuff. So the kids were at home. Hopefully they got a computer at home. Hopefully they have the internet at home. And the teachers have to figure out how they're going to teach. Because they didn't get any warning. So they have to set things up. Now look at the kids. Do they have a computer at home? Do they have high-speed internet? So let's suppose they have that. Is the teacher prepared to teach? Okay. They got the classroom. They're trying to figure this out. Now let's talk about the parents. Some of the parents can't just stay at home. They have to go to work.
That's true.
So how do you make sure your kid is actually even still on the computer and studying and watching what's going on? So so look at the students. The students were not prepared for that either. They used to be in the classroom with their friends. Now they can't play with their friends, and they're on the computer. How does the teacher know I'm studying or doing work? The school also did certain shortcuts. Okay. One of the things that they did was that they said the kids, whatever grade that you have, you get to keep that grade. Okay. So if you have an A, we're going to give you an A, regardless of whatever you do. Whatever happens. Whatever happens. You have schools that have requirement, like a lot of schools have students who are in 3rd grade. They need to be able to read by the time they finish 3rd grade. Well, they decided to waive all that. So everybody's going to be promoted to the next grade. So the whole point was, let's get through this academic year and figure out next year. Okay. So that's the problem. Okay, so on the part of the parents, you said already that the parents were also not prepared. Right. So what could the parent have done better comparing that, because the academic system were even not prepared. So concerning the parents, what could we have done or done better? Actually, the problem is that it's not when the COVID happened. At that point, you cannot control that. Do anything. I mean, even if you're fortunate enough to be able to work from home, you still have to do your work. So you cannot really supervise your kids while you're also trying to do your work. If you have to go outside to work, you don't have a choice because you need money to pay the rent and buy food and all that stuff. But what the parents could have done better is to make sure that they were supplementing what was happening at the school, or what was not happening. That is one. Make sure they have the books that the students were using at school. Making sure that they actually attended the class. Yeah, that's true. Make sure they did their homework and actually turned the homework in. And then continue on, you get to the summer to make sure that they actually did some work during the summertime. One of the mistakes that parents make that I see a lot of times is that if their kid got a good grade, they're fine. They think that they learned something. That's good enough. But they haven't learned. They did not learn. Yeah. And so they were falling behind. Okay. So now let's look at this from here. We have the COVID just happened, and the academic system suddenly, they suddenly said, we are going online. Beginning they said, go home. They didn't give parents time to prepare. Nope. They themselves were not prepared. Correct. Kids were not prepared. Correct. So, looking back at that time and now, has things changed? Not much. Here's the reason. Okay. Everybody was optimistic. Even the president said that, by the summer, this thing will be gone. It will go away. And so the school system made a calculation that maybe by the time summer happens, by the time the 2020-21 academic year happens, things will be back to normal. The kids will be back in school. Everything will be okay.
Yes, that's true.
That did not happen. So even when school started, you know, that's what happened that in August, when students were supposed to go to school, a lot of school districts, not across the country, delayed when they were going to start school.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they haven't figured out what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so now they start again, and then some of them decide, okay, we're going to have a hybrid. Some students will go to school, some of them will be at home. We're going to go one day, and all that had not been figured out. What are the teachers going to do? In fact, one of the things that happened that there are a lot of teachers who actually retired. Because they didn't want to have to deal with it.
With the computer system.
With the computer system and also their own health. Because keep in mind that by the time school was starting, the vaccine was not here.
Yeah, that's true.
So the teachers also at risk. And so, and the school system had not prepared because they were hoping that this thing will go away. And didn't go away. So now they come back, now you have kids that are continuing what they were doing back in March. They're still on the computer. The parents have to go to work. And some schools actually started. They sent the kids to school, and all of a sudden there was all this COVID that appeared in the school. They sent the kids back home.
Yeah, that's true. So looking back at the teachers, as an individual teacher who is not, you know, we have some of these young teachers who know a little bit about computer. We have some of these old, you know, older teachers who didn't even know much about the computer.
Not comfortable with it.
They're not comfortable with it. Okay, so with that said, if a child is in a class and then the child has been asked to come home, how, because what, no, let me put it this way. I saw my kids, for example, they were doing this online class. And when you go there, the kind of discipline you see when you sit behind, the kind of discipline you see at the class compared to the classroom work was less. Because the kids were all misbehaving here and there. So with an older teacher who doesn't even know how to move put around, a child to mute and all that, how did they cope with it?
They didn't. That's the whole problem. Because see, if I'm a teacher in a classroom, the teachers are trained to teach in a classroom. Teaching in a classroom is very different from teaching online. And even if you've taken, even as an adult, if you've taken a class in a classroom versus a class online, there's a certain amount of discipline that is required to be online. So let's take a classroom. If you have a classroom of say 20 students, you're there, the teacher can see everybody. So if some kid is doing something, the teacher immediately can see you. But if you're online, the teacher has this screen that I'm trying to write stuff, and these kids are in little boxes that I cannot keep scrolling through the boxes to see everything, because I'm concentrating on what I'm supposed to writing on. So and then the student can even blank their screen.
Put themselves, take themselves off the this thing.
And so what do? Nothing. So you're just trying to get through the day. And in any class, here's the problem. Teaching in person is very different from teaching online. The whole interaction is very different. Because, for example, in a classroom, if you ask a question, you can point to a student right there, and then they will answer you. The attention. But if you're online, you have to call somebody, and you have to make sure they unmute their line. What if they're not there?
Yeah, that's true.
So it takes a lot of effort that the teachers were not prepared. Even those who were savvy in computers, because savvy in computer is different from how you teach online.
Now, some students didn't have computers. Those people were at a disadvantage.
Bigger disadvantage.
So take it that you have 3 kids going to a school. You have 1 computer in the house. Now they put you out there to go online and do the computer work. Other schools distributed computers to students, but it wasn't enough because the strength as compared to what they should have used wasn't there. So with this disadvantage, let's look at the upper class, the middle class,
the rich people and the poor.
How did they have them?
In fact, normally if you look at the U.S. academic system, rich kids do better than poor kids. Not because rich people got better brain. If you ask any neurosurgeon, brain surgeon, when they cut somebody's head and they look at the brain, you can't tell the difference between a rich brain and a poor brain.
Okay.
So why is it different academic performance? Because the rich kid go to a better school.
Okay.
They got the resources, just like we're talking about here. The parents can afford it. They probably have multiple powerful computers at home.
Computers in the house.
Every kid got their own computer.
Yeah, that's true.
They probably got extra computers laying around the house. Yeah. They have high-speed internet.
Yeah.
Okay? True. And so if their kids need help, they can afford to hire tutors. Okay. And in fact, there was a story that I read that in one of the rich neighborhoods in Chicago, the parents in that neighborhood created what they call a pod. Basically, a lot of them, they have, parents who were stay-at-home parents, and they organize themselves to teach the kids in that neighborhood on top of whatever they were getting out of school.
Teaching them,
at school. So you see the disparity. So what actually COVID made it worse is that it actually increased the gap between the academic performance of rich kids and poor kids.
Wow.
Now let me give you some examples.
Wow.
Give you some examples. Normally, the summer, kids don't study.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if you look at the academic performance, they lose about 3 months of the math that they learned at school.
Okay.
That's the reason why every time school starts, every academic year, the teachers have to go and review the stuff they did the previous year.
Yeah.
So they lose about 3 months in math over the summer. They lose about 2 months in English. Rich kids usually don't lose as much because they get all this enrichment during the summer.
Okay.
With COVID, it more than doubled that gap.
Wow. Now, looking back at the gap between the rich and the poor, that you said it didn't help. Now, I'm looking at the poor students who didn't even know much about the computer. All that they know is computer is for games. You play games here and there and all that. And now, if a child is suddenly asked to study online as compared to a child who is going to classroom, does it have any mental effect on them?
Absolutely. Okay. Because this is something that you're not used to. It is very difficult to adapt to it. That's the basic problem. So, like I said, the teaching is different. When you teach online, it's different. The learning is different.
Okay.
And on top of that, the requirement was different. That is, even like back from March to about June, even if they didn't turn in their homework, it wasn't going to affect their grade.
Okay.
So why do they have to do any work? And then also, a lot of times, parents, they were too busy with themselves because they have to go to work and all that.
We will come to that.
Right. And so the student is not just going through the motion. Going through the motion. And so even if they can't figure something out, there's nobody there to show them how the thing works. So you fall behind more and more. And so by actually going online, the poor student actually suffered more than the rich kid.
Okay, looking at a parent who works night shift and a parent who works day shift. He works day shift. The time that the kids are going online, he is at work. The person that works night shift thinks that he might have an advantage.
No, you don't.
The time that the kids are also going online, he is sleeping.
Right.
So
who's supervising the kids?
Who is supervising
Nobody.
the kids?
Nobody. And that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem. Because normally if they go to school, once you get them on a bus or if you take them to school, once they are there for the 6 or 7 hours, the school takes over. So you, the parent yourself, even if you work at night, you can sleep.
You get 6 hours to relax.
Right. And if you work during the day, your kid go to school, you go to work, maybe the kids go to after school program, and then you pick them up and bring them home. And then you are home in the evening for them to do their homework and all those things. See the difference there?
So with that, do you see, because it's kind of, I'm imagining how difficult this thing, because we didn't see this as difficult as it was, but now that we are talking about it, I'm experiencing and I'm thinking back to see how difficult it was for the kids.
Yes, it is.
But we as parents were yelling at them, go do your homework, go do
that. In fact, it goes beyond academics. It goes beyond academics.
Okay.
There is a mental aspect of the kids being at home. You see, they were used to being at school, playing with their friends, they get to see their friends and all that. Those relationships, personal relationships.
Yeah.
There's been a significant increase in mental issues affecting young people in the last 1 year.
Wow.
There have been far more increase in suicides among young people.
Wow.
That is directly attributed with the fact that
they were asked to go home from school.
They're at home all this time. And so you have a health aspect, you have academic aspect. So these are serious problems that we didn't address and still not really completely addressed them.
Yeah. So from now that the vaccine is coming, the vaccine is on its way. Do you think we're going to do the hybrid type and the old traditional schooling or the online? How are they going to?
Well, what actually happened was that some of the school districts, particularly in the smaller school district, actually allowed the kids to go back to school. So they actually had the kids go to school. They had to put all these protocols and all this. That helped. Because one of the fear about, particularly in a large school district, having a whole bunch of kids at the school is that the kids, not that they cannot get COVID, they can get COVID just like everybody else. The only thing is that they actually survive COVID better. So the problem is that they may have COVID without knowing, and they'll go home and give COVID to grandma. So that was the big problem. Now grandma got the vaccine, so grandma is safe. So grandma not hang around the kids. So in fact, the CDC is now encouraging the schools to open. In fact, reduce the 6 foot distance to about 3 feet. And so more and more students are going to go back in the classroom, and that will be a tremendous help in terms of academically. The problem that we still have is that you have this gap that was built in the last 1 year, and how do we close that gap? How do we bring the kids up academically to come to the level where they need to be, particularly among the low-income students?
From what you have said, so what about those who are going to the next grade? Like from 8th grade to 9th grade. How seriously were they prepared?
They weren't prepared. They're behind. That's the bottom line. They are behind. And so if you take such a student, they go to 9th grade, if you give them the traditional 9th grade work, they can't do it. So what the teachers have to do, they have to dumb stuff down. They have to back up. So you as a parent, what you then need to do is that you need to catch up. So you have to recognize that your kid is behind. The fact that your kid has an A in a class,
8th grade, doesn't mean that
they know 8th grade stuff, that they are behind. And so it is important that, because a lot of times, the teachers, it's easier to give the kids an A than it is to say you don't know the stuff. But again, everybody's suffering through that. So it's okay, well, everybody's suffering through this whole thing, so we need to be be easy on the kids. The problem is that you make it easy on them, that we're going to give you an A if you don't know what you're supposed to know. But I just pointed out to you that the rich kids made up the gap.
They had the help.
So now you're behind. So you need to catch up. So the key here for parents, for most of the parents, is to make sure that your kids catch up.
So catching up has nothing to do with the education system. They cannot do anything.
They're not going to do it.
It's on you, the parent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. So as a parent, let me give you one of the things that is even very key. And I tell parents all the time that even when your kids are going to school, you need to have supplemental stuff to help them. If you go to Costco or Sam's Club, it used to be that they used to have these books. They have them like supplemental books. And they used to come out in the summertime. Just before summer, you go to Costco, Sam's Club, they'll be on the tables. You see them for different grades. I
always see them and I pass by.
You shouldn't pass by. You should buy them. And they used to come only for the summer. Just to help the kids catch up. They used to call it summer break. Catch up, right, for the summer, so they're not busy. If you go there now, they've kept them there year round.
Wow.
You go there, you still find. The reason is that they also know that the kids are behind, they need help. You go to the any state Department of Education website, you will see that they have all kinds of links to help kids, because they know the kids are behind. And so as a parent, what you have to do, you have to invest in some of these resources about buying these books. So if your kid is 8th grade, make sure that at least you bought the 6th and 7th grade books. Because keep in mind, if your kid is the 8th grade, they cut short the 7th grade. Back in March last year. So you need to make sure they catch up on the 7th grade and make sure they're doing the 8th grade stuff. And there are a lot of stuff that are available online that are free, but again, there's a certain discipline that goes with it. Both on the parent and the
student. When you give the computer to the child, after 15 minutes, the next thing that they are doing is they're using it to play games.
Absolutely.
Because the supervision is not there. Mommy is tired, daddy is at work, and who is supervising?
Nobody.
So, wow. So, can we say that making the kids get used to computer also, did they also bring issues? Did they have its own issues?
You know, the kids knowing about computers was helpful in the sense that they could navigate the thing. The problem with the computers is that a lot of kids who got computers, they use it to play games, as you were saying. And so
website
or go to all kinds of websites they shouldn't go. Website that they shouldn't go. And so what I tell parents is this. You know, sometimes parents make this excuse that, well, I don't know anything about computers. If you don't know anything about computers, learn something about computers. At least. Okay? Go to, there are all kinds of classes that are available so that at least you're familiar with computers, websites, and all those things. And then have conversation with your kids. And sometimes there are also some tools that you can put on your computer to control where they can go, and of course they can find ways around it. But having a conversation with them, your kids, that helps. Knowing where they go, because the tool that will help you to know which website that they come to. But it requires that you, the parent, should learn something. And there are people that will be willing to help you. There's some websites, there's some schools, you know, community college, if you need to sign up a class at the local community college or whatever to learn about computers. So it is a responsibility, because a lot of mistakes that parents make is that they think education is a responsibility of the school. No, it isn't. You see, you go to school, look at the way the system works here in the United States. A kid gets to 5 years old, they're in kindergarten. They go to, every year, they will promote the kid to the next grade. They'll promote you. When you're 18, you are out of the system, whether you learn anything or not.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, and you cannot blame the school. So you, the parents, it is your responsibility. Because if your kid doesn't learn, it is your responsibility. If they can't go to college, they can't find a decent job, guess where they're going to live?
Your home.
Your home.
Okay, so now vaccine is here. COVID-19, as we all know, let me put it, is coming to an end.
Really?
Is it really coming to an end?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But it's helping. It's helping tremendously.
At least vaccine is here.
The vaccine is here.
So once the vaccine is here, we know that definitely school is about to be in full gear. So from now on, what are parents supposed to do? Oh,
even if when we come back to normal, even if everything is back to normal, even if when you make up for the gap that I was talking about, even if you made it all that up, you still cannot relax. The reason is that the school system is not enough for your kid. You still need to continue supplemental work. If your kid needs some more help, maybe you have to find a tutor. You need to find other programs. So you still need to be on top of what your kids are doing at school and at home. Absolutely.
So before we go, has the online education come to stay, or is going to go away?
Oh, there will be some form, and I think that is good that we still have the online still available. And I think that I hope that the schools do not dismantle the infrastructure that they have, that they continue to build on it, because now today is COVID. A little over a year ago, nobody knew what was going to happen. In fact, when COVID started, they thought it would be available in 2 weeks. Let me give you an example. My daughter was in college in Virginia. They had just gone back to school after spring break.
Yes.
She calls and said, well, they shut it down for 2 weeks, and they said we should go home for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So she gets on an airplane, comes to Phoenix. She leaves everything in her dorm at college. She gets home about a week later. They say, well, we shut down for the rest of the semester.
Wow.
All your stuff left on the back there in the dorms. It wasn't until the summertime that they made arrangement for the student. They actually had a schedule that you had 1 day to go there and get all your stuff out of your dorm.
Wow.
That was not planned.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that hopefully they do not get rid of the infrastructure.
Okay.
So maybe that could be used to do supplemental stuff.
Okay.
And also, when the next pandemic happens, because the scientists are telling us that
there's another
one that may be coming, we don't know. So hopefully we wouldn't have to go through the same problem again. At least we have certain infrastructure in place that would help us manage it academically a little bit easier than we have in the last 1 year.
So if I ask you that, what advice will you give to the academic system?
The
planners.
The planners?
or let me put it, the government.
The government.
What will you finally say?
Well, that we have to look at education as important.
Okay.
Because a lot of times we look at it as, oh, kids go to school and they leave school. We have to look at it's important. And if it's important, then we have to invest in it.
Yeah.
Both in the infrastructure in the classroom and the infrastructure outside the classroom.
Okay.
For example, to train the teachers. Because now we have this online stuff. Train them on that. Have the high-speed internet available.
Okay.
The students should have the resources, the computers. Maybe they need to be looking at giving every student a computer. Because their textbooks are online, most of them anyway. So those investments are very important. Because not every parent can afford to buy all those. So
the school having a lab, like a computer lab, is that not good enough?
Well, when the COVID happened, what was the use of the computer lab? You couldn't go there.
That's true. That's true. So finally, what advice do you give to the students, the parents?
The parents, okay. Yes. So the students, the students like to play. So when they had a free time, it was great for them. But the students have to realize that their future is important.
Okay.
What I tell kids all the time is this: 10 years, 20 years from now, you cannot blame your parents because you'll be living the life that you have to live.
You made,
And so look at your future as important. So you need to invest in it, like your parents telling you to do your work, the teacher telling you to do your work, whatever. Take it seriously and then work hard at it.
Okay.
For the parents, don't assume that the schools are going to take care of your kids' education.
Okay.
You have to be checking it, investing in it, making your kids are learning, not just coming home with good grades.
Okay.
But they are learning, and you're investing in that, in the education, either finding professionals that are helping your kid, finding online resources, spending money on books, supplemental stuff, all this stuff, and working on that. And you yourself as a parent, learn something about the school system. Okay. Learn something about how to educate your kids. And sometimes it may be as simple as picking up a book and reading with your child. Okay. Instead of just watching TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to yet the end of another episode of our interview. Dr. Okrah here has given all he can, all he knows, and all he has. As a parent, I have taken a lot from it. I know you too have learned something out of this. Please, let's try to make our kids' education one important aspect of our lives as we try to make our jobs also very important. Because the more you're looking at your job without considering what your kids do at home, that is also something. Because you're going to leave your kid behind. Like he said, the rich and the poor, academically, there's a big gap between. You don't want your child to fall within that gap. I wish my child will be able to at least be able to bridge the gap, though I'm not that rich and though I'm not that poor. Dr. Okrah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you for granting us this.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Rockforcing TV, and we have come to yet the end of the program. Please, if you have any comment, you can reach out. Just put a comment at the end and doctor will get back with you. You can leave it there. If you want us to contact you, please just send us an email. We will leave the link to our email down there. We will leave it at the bottom of the screen. So please pick the email, send us anything that you want, and then doctor will be glad to answer your questions. So please, thank you for coming in and thank you for staying tuned. See you next time. Goodbye.